All right, tall Bud Light for the eastbound guy.
All right.
For those serving alcohol downtown, it's a balancing act.
You're welcome.
When do you cut off customers?
Thanks, Fran.
You have to make sure that you're not over-serving, but you want people to have a good time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Technically, it's against the law to serve alcohol to anyone above the .08 legal limit. But does anyone actually stop serving?
Do you want another beer as well?
You can't be afraid to cut people off.
Pepino's general manager, Mark Stank, has told us his staff does stop serving. His servers train every year and must consider several different factors.
Size and weight, gender, body fat type.
This is a 1.5 ounce shot of 80 proof. You gotta know where to stop.
Knowing when to stop pouring is taught in textbooks too. Dan Gendler runs GRCC's culinary school program.
Observing guests for signs of intoxication, talks about tolerance.
He points out the curriculum has guidelines and graphs. With his 160-pound frame, he can have up to 4 drinks in the first hour, either 12-ounce beers, 5-ounce wines, or a shot. After that first hour, to stay under the legal limit, he can only have 1 more drink an hour. Still, he warns, it's not an exact science.
The best way to manage alcohol is to just talk to people.
Just making sure.
Your staff is your heart and soul, and you have to rely on them.
Both manager and teacher recommend customer conversation. Where have you been? Been out long? Have you had dinner? It's one of the only realistic ways in GR's downtown scene, with bargoers bouncing around.
All the way Ionia downtown, I mean, this little strip here is, people bounce around quite a bit.
Did you want another beer too, or are you okay?
And keep in mind, this was only happy hour, before it got dark, before crowds pack in, and before the real balancing act begins.
You're welcome.
As I come back out to my car, there was this letter that was shoved into the door handle of my car.
Never expecting the misplaced anger he was about to read, 36-year-old Matt Milstead read the venom. "I would love to see your wheelchair," the scrawling handwriting said, going on to accuse him of being an able-bodied professional taking advantage of a situation.
I was kind of puzzled why he would leave this note, never met me, didn't know if I was in a wheelchair or not, but he just assumed that I was someone who just tried to steal a close and convenient spot.
I don't even get mad easily, but I was just instantly furious. It's kind of ironic. The guy was kind of trying to right a wrong. He assumed some jerk had parked in a handicap spot that shouldn't be, and so he was really trying. He probably felt like a good person, like he was doing a good thing. But the problem is he was wrong.
So Matt's wife, Leslie, wrote back to the anonymous person on her own Facebook page, saying she's sure her husband would be glad to trade his BMW and handicap parking pass for working legs and hands for the rest of his life, a trade she doubts the anonymous writer would make.
I didn't think everyone was going to see it, but I did, just because it felt like, I just kind of felt helpless, like I can't go back and say, hey, look, here's his wheelchair. Now what do you want to say?
I never expected it to get to this level. I kind of looked at it like, it'll just be it'll happen again. But hey, if I change someone's way of thinking, then it was worth it.
It looks almost sweet, piled along the side of the roads, just like powdered sugar. But neighbors are starting to sour on the mounds of snow that they say never seem to leave the streets they live on.
It's about the last street that ever gets plowed.
I was wondering where are all the guys that plow the streets, because it's pretty bad along the sideways here.
It's pretty bad for both cars trying to get down those residential streets and even some trucks.
Wherever you guys are, come out and do your job. This is not good. It might cause an accident at some point.
So we asked the city of Grand Rapids today, why is it that some of those side roads just never seem to be clear?
There is some truth to that, particularly when you get consecutive snowfalls day after day after day. We have got to stay on those major roads and those truck routes. They carry about 80% of our traffic. The local streets carry about 20% of the traffic. So our effort is to bust a hole through neighborhoods as best we can on what we call major streets, so that those local people can access those major streets and get to work and get to the stores.
Come on now, fellas. This is pretty bad looking here.